Certainly. Heavenly Father, once again, we are gathered together in a spirit of friendship and mutual support, endeavoring to become better communicators and leaders. Please help us in guiding this meeting. Help us to learn in an atmosphere of friendship. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and all saints and sages of thy holy religions. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Wes. With that, let's let the good times roll in celebration for our festive season of Mardi Gras. I'd like to start out with welcoming everyone that's here tonight. Welcome our guest, Josh. It's good to have you. Just to give you an idea as we go throughout tonight, I am the Toastmaster for this evening. I will be introducing all our speakers and some of our roles as we go through the evening. As Toastmaster, you learn how to really be a host of a meeting or a host of an event. And that's part of the Toastmaster's role. There are other roles that we'll discuss now, and we're going to tell you about what we're going to do this evening. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator so he can introduce our evaluation team and their roles. Carrie, if you will, please.
Okay, so my role tonight is general evaluator. What I'm going to do is to evaluate the entire meeting, and I'll be in charge of the last portion of this meeting, which is the evaluation part, and I'll see you later.
Thank you very much. Now, Carrie has a great job. She has a team of people helping her. One of the people is a timer, and we keep track of how long we speak. So we are respectful of other people's times. Donovan is our timer. Donovan, will you give us a quick rundown on what you'll be doing tonight?
Yes. First, I just want to welcome Josh as a guest for tonight's meeting. Just a quick rundown. So I've been here about beginning of 2018, so been here for a little while. So my role for tonight is the timer. So basically, I'll be keeping track of how long a speech is, a table topics portion, and the evaluation portion. The way I'm going to calculate that is by the time code that's on the agenda. So let's just say if there was a speak on tonight, let's just say if. So the time code would be 5 minutes, which would be this green hat. 6 minutes would be this orange, this burnt orange color. And for 7 minutes would be this red hat color. This is going to be the same thing for table topics, but instead of 5 to 7 minutes, it'll be 1 to 2 minutes. And for the evaluation portion, same concept, but instead it'll be 2 minutes to 3 minutes. That's basically what the role of the timer is to be able to keep track of how long you are speaking. The best way of doing it is to do it right in the middle, like around 2 minutes and 3 seconds, or it'll be for the halfway point, just so you won't go too long or you won't do if you don't give us too little. That's my role, and that's a little brief bio of myself. Hope you enjoy tonight's meeting. And I hope that you would want to become a member of this club. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another member of our evaluation committee is our grammarian, Maurice. Will you please tell us what you'll be doing tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As grammarian and all counter, I will check for misuse of the English language. As all counter, I will look for filler words such as all, so, you know, etc., etc. And the word of the day is festive. I thought about giving it an easy and obvious word of the day instead of people struggling to fit in a different word, since the theme of tonight is let the good times roll. And as I guess we all know that it is Mardi Gras season, Mardi Gras Day being tomorrow. So that is my role as grammarian and all counter. And by the way, Wes in the chat said he would like to give a pocket speech to let everyone know that. Yes.
Wonderful. Tonight's lineup is, or I should say, I feel like saying it in parade terms, but tonight's lineup will have a speech. Wes has volunteered to give us a pocket speech, meaning that he has a speech that he kind of has on standby. After that, we'll do table topics. And at table topics, everybody will get to speak very quickly, a minute to 2 minutes. David is going to be our table topics master, coming up with our questions or topics for our short speeches. All of this to prepare us and to give us the opportunity to all to speak. I believe with this, we will need an evaluator for Wes. I will join that role if no one else does. With that, I'd like to introduce our club coach, Wes Hillstrom.
Before I begin the speech, I'd like to give a little background. This speech is completely off the cuff. It's a 5 to 7 minute table topics response, essentially. However, I think I've got it together. The title of the speech is, "What is the current metric for internal fortitude?" Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, what is the current metric for internal fortitude? What do we, as Americans, have to rely on to get us through the hard times? Do we have a foundation of faith? Do we have a foundation of stories or experiences that our parents have passed down to us or grandparents have passed down to us? What gets us through the tough times? My father was a very intelligent man. When he was 13 years old, he won a trip to meet the governor of the state of Michigan for testing out to be this, well, he won a scholastic contest. He placed first in a countywide contest and wanted to meet the governor of the state of Michigan. He loved school. The Depression hit, and his older brother and his father had to go out of state from northern Michigan to Wisconsin or other areas in order to provide for the family. Now, the family lived on a farm. So Dad, at a very young age, was essentially put in charge of the farm. He was the oldest male on the farm. And he never forgot this experience. He remembered the first day of school. He said it was a light rain. He was in the fields plowing. You could hear the school bell ringing. He had tears coming down his face because he knew that he should be in school, but he wasn't able to be in school. But he got through that. He acquired, he formally had an 8th grade education, but he got beyond that and was able to take on courses of study while he was serving with the U.S. Army. In fact, when he was in the National Guard, he was credited to have 2 years of college, but that's jumping a bit ahead. Back to his early years, when jobs were scarce when he was a young man. He remembers one time he went to Texas to dig ditches for the Little World's Fair in Texas. And his job was to dig electrical conduits. And the way they hired and fired during those days, they had several hundred men lined up. And if a man laid on a shovel or his pick longer than it took for him to light a cigarette, he was fired like that. And another person was picked out of the line and replaced him. Now, my dad had a very bad toothache. And the foreman liked him, and he said, look, I'll let you go, I'll give you 1 hour to go to the dentist and see what can be done about that tooth, and then be back on that job. Now, Dad had this fantastic job. It was really fantastic for a young man, 22 years old. He was earning $28 a week, working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. And he didn't want to lose that job. So he's in such a hurry to get back to the job. The dentist pulled the wrong tooth. Then he pulled the right tooth. Within an hour, Dale was back on the job. That evening, he had a part-time job playing accordion in a tavern. He and his brother, they were twins, but for a while they worked as musicians. They called themselves the Melody Twins. They weren't exactly twins, but they resembled each other well enough to pass as twins. But these are the things that make that strengthen people's character. When my father was in the Army, for a while he boxed on the Army boxing team. And he had a string of victories, and he remembers one draw in particular. Now, before that fight began, a friend of the opponent came and told him, he said, my buddy said that he will take it easy if you will. Well, not throw the fight or anything like that, but they fight for 3-day passes. And so there's no sense in killing ourselves for a 3-day pass. Well, the thing is, his friend that never said that. His friends, that opponent's friend took it upon himself to say that. So by the end of the first round, Dad had to be led to his corner because he didn't know where he was. Now, Dad was so mad, by the end of the second round, they had to lead the other guy to his corner. The third round, they just stood toe-to-toe battling it out with each other, and they both had to be led to their corners. So it was a draw. Dad met that fellow aboard ship one day, and he said, I think you won that fight. I had a headache for 3 days. His buddy then told him, he says, what are you talking about? I couldn't hear for a week. It's just for a 3-day pass. So the point I'm getting at was back then, there was a lot of, the measure of internal fortitude was quite severe. I'm concerned nowadays, what is the measure of internal fortitude now? I see a lot of, quite frankly, crybabies on campus, and I'm just wondering how they would fare on the beaches of Normandy back in 1944. So the question remains, what is the metric of internal fortitude? in these days. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wes, thank you very much. That was an awesome out of the pocket speech. Very interesting. I love to hear those stories about the way things were and the things people went through. It's very, very cool. I'll save the rest of it for evaluation. But thank you very much. That was very good. We move on to the next portion of our meeting. I'm going to ask David to take it away as our topics master, and please give us a brief rundown on what we're going to do.
Sure. Thanks, Buck. Good evening, everyone. I am David, and I will be your table topics master for this evening. So the idea of table topics is I'll ask a question and I'll ask for a volunteer, and each person can give a 1 to 2 minute answer. So this is an opportunity to work on just an off-the-cuff speech. If your boss asks you something in work and you need to give an answer or give a talk real quick, this is a good way to practice that, because we don't always have time, or we don't always have the luxury of preparing for a speech. So that's the idea of this, and it can be fun. A lot of clubs, this is the most fun part of the meeting. So I'll start with, actually, I'd like to welcome Josh again to the meeting this evening. And we usually ask new member or newcomers, visitors, if you'd like to speak, for 1 to 2 minutes. You don't have to, but if you'd like to speak about about yourself, or just tell us a little bit about yourself, would you like to do that this evening?
Yes, sir. Definitely very grateful for the opportunity to join the meeting. I'm Josh Andrews. I'm a civil engineer with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in a leadership development program for 2022. And one of the requirements is to join a Toastmasters chapter and become a better speaker. So definitely looking forward to the group's feedback and having the opportunity to get better at giving impromptu speeches, planned speeches, and such.
Well, thank you, Josh, and welcome to our meeting again. Actually, I am a civil engineer as well. I worked for the Alabama Department of Transportation for 30 years. That's actually my hat here. I retired 5 years ago and am kind of lazy now, but I used to be a good hard worker. But I think I would say that I've been in Toastmasters for a couple of years and have completed a pathway, and I've given about 20 speeches, at first in person. Now that we're on Zoom because of the pandemic, we may well meet in person again at some point. But it's been an eye-opener. There's a lot of things that I've learned, and it's been a great way. I wish I had gotten involved with this earlier in my career. It could have been a very useful thing, not just for work, but for everyday life as well. So welcome, and hope you join us again. So for our first,
Yes, sir.
For our first table topics question, I'm taking Donovan up. I think that was a good idea to have some Mardi Gras questions, and so I made up some while the meeting was going on here. So I'll ask first for a volunteer. Do we have a volunteer for the first question? It's a pretty easy one. It's not controversial. Let's see. Okay, would you like to volunteer, Josh? Or you got your finger up?
Since it's easy, I'll take that one.
Cool, that'd be awesome. So the first question is this: Mardi Gras. When the rest of the country thinks about Mardi Gras, they usually think about New Orleans. Everybody thinks New Orleans, Mardi Gras. But Mobile likes to point out we're actually first. Mardi Gras originated in Mobile. At least that's what I've been told. So my question is, which Mardi Gras is better, Mobile or New Orleans? And New Orleans is, of course, big and famous, but Mobile has got its own it's got its own culture as well. So which do you prefer, Mobile or New Orleans Mardi Gras?
Well, definitely Mobile would get my preference because it's closer to me. Mobile takes it very seriously, just like New Orleans does. I think that New Orleans offers, you know, a bit more Cajun and a downtown scene that Mobile is working towards, but definitely Mobile would be my choice.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Josh. It's good to get involved straight away and volunteer. We're always looking for that. That's awesome. So my second question, do we have a volunteer for the second question, or do you want to hear it first? Don't see any hands. Actually, I can't see everybody. Let me go to gallery view. Okay. The second question, I think Buck raised his hand. I saw his hand. Okay, cool. What is your favorite part of Mardi Gras? Now we have Mardi Gras parades, we have balls, we have, there's the catching the throws, you have the horses, you have all the police cars, is there a favorite part of Mardi Gras? Or just maybe you like getting drunk, I don't know. But what's your favorite part?
My favorite part of Mardi Gras is the king cake. I can remember being little and my mother bring home a king cake from Pullman's. And we put the baby in the king cake and we cut the king cake. And it was, who got the baby in the king cake. And as you grow up and got older, you realize that there's a tradition with the baby and there's tradition with the king cake. And I got married and I have children and I have 4 children now. And we still carry on that tradition. We really don't go to Mardi Gras, but every year we get a king cake. And we bring the king cake in, we hide the baby. We hope it's not the same child that found it last year because we don't tell anybody. We try to make it as fair as possible. And we eat our king cake and we just enjoy that. And it's something we all look forward to. And it's amazing. It's really just a big honey bun with icing on top. But one, it's a really good cinnamon honey bun with icing on top. And 2, it's such a fun tradition that we have all grown to love and enjoy. We've already had our one this year. I'm sure we'll have one more before the end of the year, end of the Mardi Gras season tomorrow. That is probably my favorite tradition about Mardi Gras of all time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Buck. And that's a great answer. I think food is definitely at the top of a lot of people's list. And the king cake is the biggest food item we think about with Mardi Gras. Well, maybe moon pies is the biggest, but the king cake is definitely number 2. So the next question is a little more serious, and I'll ask it and see if we have a volunteer. So Mardi Gras is a celebration. It's having fun, it's letting loose, it's enjoying life. Do you ever feel guilty celebrating something like Mardi Gras when, right now in Ukraine, they're at war, people are dying, there's refugees, and all over the world, there's lots of suffering, there's lots of bad things going on. So do you ever feel guilty when you're celebrating and so many people are in such difficult situations? And I see Carrie's hand is up. So Carrie.
Hi. The guilty. I'm initially from Japan, and one of the Japanese national characteristic is we feel strong guilty, especially when something wrong happened in my country, Japan, or wherever in the world, do something, even carry normal life. We will feel sometimes guilty, not just like a Mardi Gras or fun party or do something really festive event, but just normal life. We will feel guilty because somebody really suffering from even eating or sleeping in the warm bed or blankets, and just the everyday life is really, for them, just everyday life, it's very hard. But just carry everyday life in the US, that's where I am now, sleep in the warm bed and get up in the morning and a nice coffee and a breakfast and warm meal. I will feel guilty already, just the everyday things I normally do. And so I definitely feel guilty. But also same time, doing something carry the normal life, it's probably sometimes good for the even people who are suffering from them. Because if I also suffering because they're suffering, it's probably, it's hard to explain, but that I think that's not good. I just enjoy my life. I should enjoy my life, no matter what happened in the world. But at the same time, I should think, what can I do for them? Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. I think that's a very good answer. There has to be a balance in life. There's always going to be suffering and there's always going to be bad things happening. And not that we shouldn't address that, because we should when we can, but we need to enjoy our own lives as well. And I think it can be a difficult thing, though. It's something I think a lot of people struggle with. So my next question, I'm going to try this one. This one's pretty controversial, at least, and it's always been something in the back of my mind I've never quite understood. But okay, Mardi Gras is, for lack of a better word, segregated. You have the Mardi Gras organizations, they're either completely African American or completely white. There's no intermixing at all. And I've talked to people where I worked with the Department of Transportation. I had several people that are involved in Mardi Gras and asked them about it. And they tell me that that's the tradition and that's the way everybody wants to keep doing it on both sides, if you will. But to me, it's something that's always, I've never understood, because I try to look at everybody as, you know, everybody's as one, you know, there's not different races, we're all the same. But I see that and it bothers me. So my thoughts are, or my question is this a good thing or a bad thing, or is this something that needs to be changed? So yeah, that's a light question. Would anybody like to take that? Donovan?
Can someone time me while I do this question, please?
Sure, I can time you.
Thank you. Okay. My question was something around how Mardi Gras is segregated by the different organizations, Mardi Gras organizations of the traditional of black and white. To me, it is a very sensitive topic, personally, because it is talking about people's race. And to me, tradition is tradition. Sometimes people don't like change, and there are people that say no, it's okay to break tradition. That's not a big deal to them. I would personally say is that we can't just also ignore the fact that about other different races, like Asians, for example, or from other types of races that might want to have their own club too. To me, I would say that it's good to have tradition, but it's also good to celebrate the uniqueness of who they are. And I would say that if people don't accept that their uniqueness, they should be able to celebrate in their own way without people saying, like, you know, bad things about them. They shouldn't worry about other people and what they think or what they say, because that is something that we all fight for right now. Just because racial issues is a big part of a big thing that's going on still today. And I would say that it's a very sensitive topic, and I just think that it doesn't matter what race you are, you just still celebrate no matter what. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Donovan. I thought that was a very good answer. There's a lot of different ways to look at that, and I know it's a very sensitive subject, but I thought you really presented it well, especially talking about celebrating uniqueness. That's definitely one way to look at it. So I have one more question, which I think Maurice is the only one that hasn't spoken right. And so let me ask this question. This one's a lot easier. The question is, Mardi Gras happens day and night. Lots of things happen during the day, especially on the weekends, and then today and tomorrow. So do you prefer daytime Mardi Gras events, daytime parades, or nighttime Mardi Gras events, nighttime parades?
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, the question that was posed to me is what part of the day do I prefer Mardi Gras events? As for me, even though my parents are native Mississippians, I grew up as military brat, so I didn't even hear of Mardi Gras until our family moved back to Mississippi when I was about 15 years old. So I was really never involved in the tradition of Mardi Gras. So I really can't give you a preference, day or night, of when I would rather celebrate Mardi Gras or participate in Mardi Gras events. Even though, as I talked last week, for those who were here last week, I did have a college friend who was a bandmaster, and I went downtown to talk to him, before he started marching his band during a Mardi Gras parade, not a Mardi Gras day, it was just during the season. And I talked to him for a few minutes. I was getting ready to leave, and he stopped me. He said, "No, why don't you come on?" So, and I ended up marching. That was the only time I marched in a Mardi Gras parade or walked in a Mardi Gras parade in my whole life. But again, I don't have a preference on whether it's daytime events or nighttime events. Back to you, Topics Master.
Thank you, Maurice. And myself, I prefer nighttime, I think, at least when I was a kid. There's just something more exciting about the atmosphere and just so much going, especially if the parade, I forget which one it is, that has the dragons with the fire coming out of them. That's just, I remember as a little boy seeing that and just being mesmerized. So I think we could do one more quick question. I don't think Wes has had one yet. Would you like one, Wes? We'll do a quick, easy one. Mardi Gras is all about letting loose. And that's something I struggle with. I'm a stereotypical introverted engineer. I want everything planned. I want everything laid out. And so letting my hair down, so to speak, is something I have difficulty with. But that's what Mardi Gras is. And that's the great thing about it, is everybody can just relax, be themselves, and just have fun. So can you let loose, and how do you let loose in your life, Wes? You're muted, I think. Cataract surgeries.
Yeah,
There you
really,
go.
really. Well, gosh, I've let loose in a number of ways. I am a licensed skydiver. I did achieve a beginner's hang gliding license many years ago. I'm an advanced scuba diver. I haven't made a dive since 2000. I have too much going on. Presently, I really don't have time to let loose. I just have a lot going on. And as far as attending parades, I don't intend to. I really don't have the time. I'm not going to be attending any parades. I just don't have the time for it. I will say that my birthday happens to be Mardi Gras Day. I will be tomorrow. I will be 26 years old, or 23 years old, rather. Excuse me. I've been 23 years old every year since before I retired. But letting loose. I'll get back to you come June 30th on that one. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Wes. That was a good answer. And I think you need to speak to your eye doctor because 23 years is very young to be having cataract surgery. But you look great. You look great. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me to be your table topics master. I think this was Donovan had a great idea making it a Mardi Gras theme. And I really enjoyed asking these questions, and thank everyone for participating. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, David. Those are great questions. They were a lot of fun. I love thinking about back when I was a kid and going to Mardi Gras and how exciting it was. And now I got older and just doesn't have the same excitement. But those are great questions. Now we move on to the learning part of our meeting, where we learn how we did and we learn about what can make us better. I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator, Carrie, if you will, please.
Thank you, but I am your general evaluator tonight. I'm going to speak about the festive evaluation later. So let's start each of the role reports tonight. Timer, Donovan, please.
Yes, of course. Just want to go ahead and throw out all of these were very festive speeches that I had the privilege to time them. For the first festive speech, Josh, you had 28 seconds. Buck, your festive speech was 1 minute and 42 seconds. Carrie, your festive speech was 1 minute and 31 seconds. My festive speech was 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Maurice's festive speech was 1 minute and 48 seconds. And Russ's festive speech was 1 minute and 32 seconds. Thank you and back to the general evaluator.
Thank you, Donovan. You're very strategic way to use tonight's word, festive. Thank you so much. You're so smart. You're very smart. Okay, next, grammarian and accountant. Maurice, please.
All right, thank you for the grammarian all counters report. I'll just go over the filler words right quick. Just heard one little filler word during Wes's speech and one during Donovan's table topics, one during my table topics. And that is it for that. And then for the word of the day, festive, I heard Carrie say it twice, Donovan 6 or 7 times during. I think I heard Buck before we got started use the word festive. And then I heard no errors in the English language during anyone's speech. And that is my grammarians and all counters report. Back to you, evaluator.
Thank you so much, Maurice. Timer, grammarian, accountant. I guess that's all, right? Okay, it's time to make an overall evaluation tonight. I would like to share the 3 things tonight. First of all, I need to say this. We have an honor guest tonight. think his name is Josh, right? Okay, you're very welcome, Josh. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we all hope you had good time and come back. And the second, we had a prepared speech of, we had a pocket speech by West. And it's always good to have a long speech. Thank you so much for taking the spot in the very last minute. Thank you so much. And the third, although we had a small group, very, very small group, it was good because all of us had the chance to make a table topic and each of us took a role. As a result, we all actively participate in the meeting. In conclusion, we have a festive meeting tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that good evaluation. I believe that wraps up our evening for tonight.
Do you have an evaluation for Wes's speech?
I do.
Okay.
Are we?
I mean, we still got time if you wanted, I mean, just for the next few minutes or so.
I am sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, we have an evaluation of West speech. Back, please.
Thank you very much. This part of our meeting, we learn, and we want to learn with our evaluations of how to be better. Wes, I loved your speech because you started off telling us what was going on, that it was off the cuff. It was a pocket speech, the time. And that's the thing about pocket speeches. They are quick, something you come up with or you have prepared. Lots of times we just come up with them off the bat. And you did a good job about introducing us to what your speech is. And that was a great way to get us started. I loved your topic. What is the current metric for internal fortitude? You asked us that question. You asked, what do we rely on as far as faith, stories, different things like that? And you brought us into your speech and you defined your topic as well. You started to talk about your father and what your father did and going through the depression and meeting the governor. And you asked the question to bring us in, and then you started telling us a story. And as the stories came, you brought us further and further into your speech. And you led us through your speech with your stories about your father. I thought it was a great way to progress your speech without doing a true timeline. You just brought us story through story as we go through and saw different examples of fortitude. Then you sum it up at the end with, were they tougher back then? And listening to your father's stories, man, getting your tooth pulled, the wrong tooth, and then getting the right tooth pulled and still making it back to the office in an hour. I can't say I'm tough enough to do that today. And that's with the modern conveniences, much less digging ditches. I thought it was a great way to show those examples of, were they tougher? What do we use for fortitude now? And you finished up by asking that question. How do we measure fortitude? Would the younger generation of today survive those tough times like the beaches of Normandy? I couldn't even imagine going through that. I've had a tooth pulled, I survived that. I've had a root canal, I survived that. But the times that like your father went through, that was a whole different level. And you brought that into your speech. And that's what I thought was really great about your speech. You had great examples. You led us through the story and you summed it up at the end, asking that question and wrapping everything up all at the end and summarizing. Great job, Wes. Thank you for coming through for us.
Thank you, Buck. You sound very enthusiastic, and I'm sure your evaluation encouraged Wes to keep going. Thank you so much. Donovan, did you time his evaluation? If so, please report it.
His evaluation was 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
Thank you. And
Welcome.
Maurice, please report his evaluations as a grammarian and accountant.
Yes, I did not hear any filler words or any errors in English language during his evaluation.
Thank you so much. I apologize. I didn't do this in the early of the evaluation part of the meeting, but that's all for my part. And back to Toastmaster, Mr. Buck, right? Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, that's been a great meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Josh, thank you for joining us. It was great to have you with our crew tonight. I'm going to turn over our meeting to our presiding officer, Maurice. Thank
Thank
you, Maurice.
Buck, and I believe we have an educational overview. We got 7 minutes left in the meeting. David, if you would still like to do the educational overview.
Sure, it won't take a few minutes. Did you have a question, Wes, or Wes had it?
Oh, what's
I can wait till later. I can wait till later. It's just a comment.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and do an educational overview, which is just a little speech we do at the end. Really, the idea of Toastmasters, just for Josh's sake, is everything we do is practice, and it just helps us work on our speaking skills. So whether it helps anybody else or not, it certainly helps me when I speak. So thank you for bearing with me and listening. But here's my educational overview. This is about being natural and authentic while we're speaking or otherwise communicating. And it's something I sometimes struggle with, being natural, being authentic while I'm speaking or otherwise communicating. I'll share with you that for several years, I saw a therapist and she helped me enormously. And one day I asked her, or I was complaining, I told her, I don't know how to act around people. I don't know how to act around people. If I'm at a dinner party, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And what she told me was profound. She picked up on that word act and she said, don't act. The way she put it was, don't ape being human. And because I'm always thinking like, how should I act? What should I be doing? But she pointed out that's really just be me, be myself. Because whenever I try to do something or pretend to be something I'm not, it's really a form of manipulation. And also it takes a great deal of energy and is very distracting to have this background track going on in my head. You know, what do I need to do? How should I be holding my hands? What should I say to this person? Should I ask them this? Just be, if I'm curious, ask someone. If I'm not, don't. But this brings me to the Toastmasters. We have 7 criteria when we're doing speech evaluations. We talk about clarity. We talk about vocal variety. That's where we change our tempo or talk loud or talk soft, having dramatic pauses, things like that. These are skills that we're learning. Also, eye contact. That's a little trickier on Zoom, but definitely in person when you have an audience, you know, looking at each person, using gestures properly. How am I moving my hands? Being aware of the audience. How is the audience reacting to what I'm saying? Being comfortable while I'm speaking and having something interesting to say. Those are seven topics that we focus on. And sometimes it feels almost like, you know, like I'm trying to act, like I'm being an actor. I'm trying to remember to do all these things. But this brings me to another point. I've heard this saying before, fake it till you make it. And I think that's really good because we need to learn these skills or improve upon them. I mean, we all already know some of them, but eventually we do need to make it. And this makes me think a good analogy for this is riding a bicycle, learning to ride a bicycle. I remember when I was a little boy, I remember learning to ride my bicycle, how hard it was. My God, you only have 2 wheels and you've got this steering wheel thing and you've got pedals, you have to pedal and move. It was, I mean, if you remember when you were a small child learning to ride a bicycle or ever watched one learn, it's very difficult. It's very challenging. It seems impossible, but they keep working at it. They keep doing it. And one day they start to get it. Oh, I can ride a little farther, or I can ride a little farther. And eventually it's second nature. I just get on my bicycle and ride. My legs already know what to do. My hands, I can, whatever direction I want to go, I just go that direction. So that kind of got me to thinking about what we learned here in Toastmasters. I think that's one of the secrets to being a world-class speaker. It's really brute force and repetition, is keep giving speeches. And yes, you will mess up when you practice giving speeches, especially if you're trying new things. Sometimes it may go horribly wrong, but that's what Toastmasters is for. This is a great place to practice and a great place to mess up. And the beauty of Toastmasters is also, as I give a speech, then I get feedback like Buck did tonight for Wes's speech. And I can take that feedback, and it's given in a loving, kind environment. I take that and I apply it to the next speech and then repeat, do that over and over again. And it's like riding a bicycle. It's very awkward at first. It feels, oh, this is hard, I can't do it. But eventually it becomes second nature. And then it becomes natural. It becomes authentic. And that's what I'm seeing is the secret and the great thing about this group and this organization. And it's something that I've completed a pathway. I've done a lot of speeches and I feel like I've made a lot of improvement, but I'm still having to think about riding that bicycle a little bit. I'm still learning, but it's just something I had on my mind, and it's something I personally do struggle with. So I just wanted to share that and thank everyone here for being a part of this and helping me. And that's all I've got. So thank you, and back to you, Maurice.
All right, thank you, David. It is 7:44. And I will entertain Wes with this comment, and then we'll conclude the meeting.
Along the line of celebration, I'd like to bring to your attention, there's a reason for Mobileans also to be proud or to celebrate. If you've lived in the Mobile area, you might have passed by Graham's Academy of Martial Arts. And it's now known, I think, Elite Fitness on Dawes Road. Many years ago, I was a part of that. And I was involved in Kung Fu training for about 11 years. And a friend of mine from Goshen, Mississippi, since I lived in Gulfport, he became my instructor. The parent organization is Mobile, but he became my instructor in Goshen. I used to live in Gulfport. And then graduate school happened and I had to abandon all that, but I told my instructor, I'm using the same discipline, but applying it in a different way. The point I'm trying to make is that a student also of Ken Hendricks was this little 10-year-old kid, about 10 years old. His name was Chad, something like Chad. Well, he grew up and is now known as Channing Tatum. True story. So a little something for Mobilians to be proud of.
All right. Thank you. It is 7:46. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Good night.